Podcast City Network.
Hey guys, we are back here on Final Score, episode 47, live on Facebook Live. I'll tell you what, this is exciting. We haven't been in the studio in a little while. At least I haven't.
First of all, welcome back.
Hi guys.
How are you feeling?
A lot better than I was.
Good. You looked like death when I saw you last week.
I was death doubled over. Like, I don't even think death would want to come find me.
Ooh, yeah, you were in rough shape, man. But
yeah, it was something. It was
something, all right.
Yeah, it was something. The whole house came down with it. But you know what? We're all better now, and that's the important part. So we can be here for Final Score. It's a lot of excitement.
I tried to hold it down for you last week.
You know what? You did a great job, sir.
I appreciate that.
You did a great job.
I hope Chris Carnage thought so too.
You know, he hasn't said anything, but maybe silence sometimes is better than anything.
That's true. Silence from
Especially
him.
with him.
He's a loose cannon.
He definitely is. But to make sure that you can catch all things Final Score, you need to make sure that you hop on our social media at PCN Final Score on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Right there above my good old noggin. Just make sure you go there, give us a like, give us a follow. Definitely leave us a rating. Let us know how we're doing because we try to bring the very best that we can. And hey, if you think we're doing good enough, give us a share. Invite your friends and let them in on the amazingness known as Final Score.
Absolutely. We love to have everyone in on the conversation. You know, sports is one thing that brings everyone together.
That's right. Sports is amazing. Like, come on.
We like to have everyone involved, so please share. That's the only way that we're going to, we like to have some fun with the show, so we like to get everyone involved as well. So share with your friends and join the party.
And you know what? If you want to go that extra mile for us, all you have to do is go into our myriad of different content platforms, including YouTube, Apple Podcast, Spotify, iHeartRadio, TuneIn, Podbean, Stitcher, and of course, Google Podcast. All you have to do is go onto any of those platforms and search keyword Final Score, one word, and just check it all right down here. Give us a like, give us a follow, check out all the amazing content that we have. Every episode we put out. Hey, don't forget, we had that one off with the Kaepernick, whole Kaepernick settlement. That one was a doozy. Check it all out. Just go on there. It's all there, free for download, because we don't charge. We try to give everything for free right now.
Yeah, absolutely. And speaking of that, don't forget about our network, our parent network, Podcast City Network. You can find that on Facebook.com/Podcast City Network, on Twitter at Podcast City Net. YouTube, you search the keywords Podcast City Network, and of course the website, podcastcity.net and podcastcity.net/Final Score.
That's right, and check out all the great stuff that we have on podcastcity.net, which is a great network with a lot of amazing shows, a lot of great stuff on there, so definitely make sure you go on there and check it all out. Man, it smells good in here. Oh, I think my stomach's cooking.
You know what's cooking right now?
What's cooking?
The XFL is cooking right now.
That's right. The XFL is cooking red hot because we had kickoff weekend not too long ago, and I tell you what, it was a doozy.
I will say, I was very impressed last year with the AAF in their first weekend because everyone was excited at spring football.
Absolutely.
Looking back on it now, where the AAF was, XFL's way up here.
Oh, XFL
they by far and above, like they just blew the doors off of the AAF in their first week. Mm-hmm. There's so many things to love about the XFL.
There really is. The XFL is absolutely amazing, and honestly, kind of breathes a different kind of life into what we know of the game as football. And it was really breathtaking, especially coming right off the Super Bowl, how that whole game went. Usually this is a sad time, but we got some greatness, and there was a lot of great things that happened in week one, but there's a lot of different things that happen that we can kind of take away from this. What was your big takeaway?
The biggest takeaway I loved about the XFL was the unprecedented access that we got to see as viewers. So I was talking with a friend of mine who's kind of I wouldn't say he's a casual football fan,
right?
But he's not a hardcore, and
so he's not us.
Okay. Definitely not us. But one thing that I like that I don't think casual fans are gonna like, but it's not meant for them, is listening in on the mics for the replay reviews and listening in on the comms, the team comms. You can listen to the play calls. You can listen to them chat. My favorite was the week one DC defenders, Pep Hamilton talking to Cardale Jones and tell him, like, wait. NFL, you cut communications off at what, 10, 15 seconds?
Roughly.
XFL, all the way to the snap. You can talk through the snap. Like that kind of stuff as a hardcore fan, I absolutely love. I love the fact that they did this. You can listen on the replay reviews. You can listen in on the fact that why they kept a call standing, why they're overturning other calls. And I think the NFL, this is things that NFL is going to take and run with in a couple of years.
Oh, they're going to have to absolutely do so, because I feel like there's a lot of things that are called into question when it comes to the NFL and how they approach the big thing I took away from this weekend, and that's the realistic player safety implementation. Because the big thing is the NFL has always tried to play around with ideas. Oh, let's move the ball a little bit. Oh, let's create a penalty here, or let's create a process to review it. And I feel like they're always taking, oh, let's look at the aftermath approach. The XFL decided to step in and said, you know what? We need to make real change, and we need to make it now if you really want to have great player safety. And the biggest thing that I noticed it with was their kickoff. And the kickoff was amazing.
Loved it.
Both teams are lined up almost right across from each other. You have the kicker at the 35, the returner at the 35. They kick off, and no one is allowed to move until the returner actually receives the ball, which means you're never going to have these guys now running full speed, able to just clock you and take you out anymore. You're not going to see those nasty, just total blindside hits that you see that taking games out. Sure, it looks cool, but imagine what it does to someone's body. It's just absolutely insane. You know, I've had it happen to me. I know firsthand. It is not fun, because a sprained neck, a pinched nerve, and a concussion is nothing to laugh about.
Absolutely not.
So being able to see this and them take a real step forward, and just to throw a little statistics out, last season the NFL only had kickoffs returned at a roughly 34% clip. XFL week 1, over 95%.
Well, part of that is, too, the rule is that if it's in the end zone, it's touchback, comes out. But if they don't kick it past, I believe, the 20-yard line, they also, it's a penalty like kicking it out of bounds. Yes. And the receiving team gets the ball like at midfield or into opponent territory.
Absolutely. And then with the whole onside, which I don't believe we've actually seen one yet.
Nope.
But what it's supposed to be is a 4th and 15 attempt offensively, instead of what we have now, which sometimes can be very dangerous. I remember playing in games back in the day. You see a guy dive for the ball. Next thing you see a guy diving at him, takes his head straight back. That's where you can have a lot of issues happen, like LaGrange at Rutgers, who ended up being paralyzed. So it's really great to see what the XFL has done when it comes to player safety.
Absolutely. And week 1 was not disappointment at all. A lot of domination, really. Yes. 3 of the 4 games were just complete and utter domination.
Yes, as you see on your screen now, we have the scores up from week 1. A lot of craziness happened because we also have betting lines on these games.
Yes.
Another big side of the XFL. Obviously, we saw the Defenders come out of DC and just play a great game against Seattle, ended up taking that 131-19. Of course, the Roughnecks came out and looked great. I'll tell you what, I love those uniforms. And going out winning 37-17 against the LA Wildcats. Sadly, though, our Tampa Bay Vipers, who were favored by 3.5. I have to use my eulogy voice, sorry.
Yeah.
By 3.5, ended up losing by 20 to the New York Guardians, 23-3. And then, of course, we had the Dallas Renegades at home taking on the St. Louis Battlehawks, who were the only road team to win, and ended up taking it 15-9.
That game ended up being like quietly, I think, the best game of the weekend. Defenders, I think their defense, they're going to be scary. The Roughnecks look really good. Tampa is just a complete disaster already. They're completely underwhelming. But Seattle, yeah, like you said, they were not favored. They were only road team to actually, second road team. Defenders won in Seattle. But, I mean, that game, the Seattle, the Battlehawks, that is, they pulled one, and Dallas was another team that was supposed to be at the top end of this league.
Absolutely. So it's going to be interesting to see how a lot of this is going to play out from here, which brings us to week 2, which we started today.
Yeah, the first game we had the DC Defenders at home this week. They shut out. We had our first XFL shutout.
Yes.
Shut out the Guardians 27-0. The DC Defenders now improved to 2-0, and the New York Guardians dropped to 0-2. Yeah,
it was absolutely insane. As you see on your screen now, oh, wow. Things got kind of crazy, it looks like, as I try to do editing because, I had to work today. It was crazy.
Yeah, you all right over there?
Yeah, just try and do what I can. 12-hour days aren't always the nicest.
Yeah, those are great.
Gotta do what you can.
We are working people, by the way.
We are. We do what we can.
We do what we can.
You mentioned the first ever shutout. We also had the Seattle Dragons come out at home for the first home game and finally get their first one of the season.
Yeah.
Also against the Tampa Bay Vipers.
That actually just wrapped up about a half hour ago.
Yeah.
So the games are done for the night. But Tampa Bay, I don't know. Did you watch a little bit of week 1? I know we didn't get a chance. I watched a little bit before the show here, the end of it.
I did watch week 1, and I'm not going to lie, I was thoroughly disappointed.
Yeah.
Because it seemed like every time we would get the ball, we start getting a drive going and something would happen. Dumb penalties. Or the 3 or 4 red zone attempts we have where we came away with only 3 points out of the 4 attempts.
Right.
And had a missed field goal as well. So it's just they were not able to execute. They were not able to get things going. And, of course, dumb mental mistakes. Had a defensive player that was ejected at the end of the first half. So Tampa Bay has to get it going. And then even today, it didn't look good.
Even today, they had another. I think they might be leading the league in personal foul penalties. I know they're leading in ejections. Because,
The only one.
But the one thing, though, is that with Mark Trestman and that offensive brain that he has, the offensive genius that he's supposed to have, Aaron Murray looked scared or rusty or I don't know what. But Aaron Murray does not look like the Aaron Murray that everyone's accustomed to seeing him when he was at Georgia. He did not look good at all. And I mean, he was going up against Matt McGloin. Maybe he had a little bit of NFL experience, but Matt McGloin looked leagues ahead of Aaron Murray, and that should not be the case.
No, it definitely shouldn't be. Honestly, Aaron Murray is the SEC passing leader all time still. So it's crazy to see him come out and just honestly goose egging it.
And they have some of the biggest wide receivers in this league.
Oh yeah, all of them 6'2" minimum.
Yeah, and they all have, they have so many weapons on this offense. And even this week now, you had a Quentin Flowers and Taylor Cornelius kind of a quarterback on committee thing. It didn't work. It looked terrible. Cornelius, I've watched a little bit with his time at Oklahoma State. Mm-hmm. Super inconsistent. Quentin Flowers, he's athletic, but what are you going to do? Like, this offense does not look good. The defense, the corners keep getting burned all the time. They give up the big play, which is not going to play well for them. And, they've got to turn this around very quickly. And they have no discipline on defense, and you have no offense to boot. So that's usually spells for disaster.
Yeah, it definitely does. And it's definitely going to be really difficult if they can't get things going and start really rolling. Because, honestly, you think about it, they have a great crop of talent there. There's no reason why they can't hang with a lot of these teams right now. Mm-hmm. And they've been able to score only 12 points in 2 weeks, and that's absolutely atrocious. And Mark Trestman, honestly, is a great coach, great mind. Remember when we went down back in June and talked with him, had a lot of great things to say, and had a really great vision of what he wanted for this team.
Absolutely.
But none of it has come to fruition yet. So we still have 8 weeks left, though.
Yep.
So we'll see what happens. So stay tuned.
Looking at tomorrow, we got 2 games on the slate, 3 and 6 o'clock. Mm-hmm. Dallas Renegades on the road at LA Wildcats. Both teams 0-1 there. And the St. Louis Battlehawks at the Houston Roughnecks. Both of those teams are undefeated there. That's going to be a great matchup.
Yeah, those are going to be some great games. So definitely make sure that you check those out tomorrow. I tell you what, I think with how the XFL has come out the gate, they might be here to stay. We'll have to check it out and see what happens.
I'm definitely hoping so, especially with I think Americans love more football. There's no way you can get. There's no way you don't want more football. You know
Absolutely.
what I mean?
Why wouldn't you want more football?
But yeah, I think it's got a really good niche being in the spring right after the Super Bowl.
Yep.
They got a great audience, I think, and they're on all the major networks. The recipe for success is here versus the 2001 incarnation.
That's right. Even though there was more viewership in the
2000,
first week,
I guess,
for XFL back in 2001, they feel there's a lot more longevity with this.
Absolutely.
Because it's consistent. They're already getting well over 2 million viewers per game. So it's definitely going to be interesting to see how this goes forward. The biggest thing is having those ESPN contracts and honestly having a lot more backing and trust given, who is backing this. Thanks, Vinnie Mac.
Yeah, and all those networks are now pushing. Like, remember the AAF? None of the networks were pushing it at all outside of CBS and NFL.
Yeah, they're like, hey, guys, there's games.
I guess there's games over here. Yeah.
XFL,
but you got Fox promoting it. You've got ESPN promoting it. Like, it's got the recipe that it needs. Hopefully it stays around.
Yeah, we'll definitely see how it works out. No matter what, though, we know Vinnie Mac is invested for at least 3 years of this league. So at least we'll get a nice little smorgasbord of football after every NFL season. It's going to be amazing.
Absolutely.
But someone else, sadly, who is going to be here to stay, maybe awesome for some others, is one Myles Garrett and the whole saga surrounding him. If you are living under a rock, what are you doing? Get to watching FinalScore more. We saw Myles Garrett get reinstated by the NFL after the atrocious actions that he took in that late season Browns-Pittsburgh game. And I don't know. How do you feel about him being reinstated?
I think this is bad news for future for NFL, because you know how in some things they try to say that, you know what, we're going to make an example out of this person.
Yes.
So they're like with Tom Brady and the deflated football thing, or with Josh Gordon and the weed thing.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, look at how some of these guys have been suspended. Brady got, 6 games for the deflated footballs?
Yes, 6 games.
Josh Gordon.
Sorry, no, not even 6. It was 4.
4 games.
And it being only 4 games.
You have guys that have domestic violence issues that only get 4 games.
Mm-hmm.
And now you've got Josh Gordon, who gets suspended indefinitely because he's smoking weed. That's it.
You know the XFL doesn't test for that, right?
Right. I have no doubt. I think he's going to go play there.
Hey,
he's
Josh
going to
Gordon,
dominate.
Call the Tampa Bay Vipers. We need help.
But anyway, you suspend him for the final 6 games of the year. Okay, that makes sense. But to reinstate him now, you are unintentionally setting the precedent that you can strike somebody with a helmet and only get 6 games.
That's absolutely ridiculous.
You are setting that precedent.
You're at the point where a lot of people view that as attempted murder.
Yes.
Honestly, when I saw the hit, I was like, how does Mason Rudolph still have a head? Like, how is it not just like a big dent?
Right.
Because that kind of hit, especially from
I'm surprised he didn't crack his skull.
Exactly. Like, honestly, I was expecting Mason Rudolph to crumple into a pile like he did when he took the face-to-face from the Baltimore defender just a few weeks prior.
Yeah.
He got knocked out with a concussion. I expected his head to crack, him to fall to the ground. We're going to stretcher him off, and we just saw attempted murder on the field. But luckily,
It looked that bad.
It looked that bad, but luckily he obviously bounced back and got right in his face. But either way, it's just amazing to me that 6 games and that's it. All because Myles Garrett, I'm sorry to say this, wants to pull a race card and try and say that Mason Rudolph made some type of racial slur at him, which obviously, we don't know for sure because we weren't there. We can't say.
Right.
But either way, Mason Rudolph has come back and vehemently shot this idea down that he threw some type of racial slur or had antagonized this in any kind of way. So it's I don't know, it's mind blowing to me that 6 games honestly is nowhere near enough.
I agree. I think that with that interview that he had with ESPN, he had said in there that, look, I just want to put this all behind me and be done with it. Well, you're continuing this narrative, unfortunately, because you had this interview with ESPN.
Right.
You are pushing this yourself,
yes.
Whether you say it or not. Like, even if they request the interview, if you want to get it behind you, deny the interview. Just say, hey, look, I really don't want to talk about it.
Exactly.
It's done. It's over with. That's it. Like, but the fact that he pushed it, and he even said that Mason Rudolph had thrown this racial slur, the N-word, at him.
Yes.
But the NFL has come back and stated that no one else can corroborate this claim. No players, no referees, nobody. And then now Mason Rudolph is coming in and say, okay, well, I clearly did not say that. Now, like you said, he's going to take legal action. Then you were kind of shooting that down like, oh, this is not really going to go anywhere. He said this in an interview in California. California, if you're not aware, is a little bit more sensitive to those kind of civil acts.
Yes.
Or I should say, they're basically, it's what's that, civil? It's like hate speech.
Hate speech.
Yeah. They're very sensitive to that kind of stuff.
Yes.
So the fact that he said it in California, and the fact that they are going to come after him for slander, character, that kind of stuff, I would not be surprised if Mason Rudolph ends up winning this.
Honestly, I could see it all day because since the NFL have already come out in their investigation, and we know how mic'd up the NFL has these stadiums these days, that there's no proof whatsoever. They found no evidence that was the case, which is why they really didn't have anything happen to Mason Rudolph after this other than a small fine. But looking at this, slander is a big issue these days. And if you're going to try and go out and whether it be in an interview or on social media, no matter what it is, you're going to be held liable. So you can't go around just throwing around accusations saying, oh, well, he called me this or he called me that and I'm black. So, this is an issue. Well, if it had happened, sure, it would be an issue. However, from what everybody else who is the professionals that investigated this, it's not real and did not happen. So honestly, good on Mason Rudolph to take legal action because you shouldn't be allowed to just throw things around like that and I loved how he termed this when he actually made his Twitter post about this whole entire situation was that he felt like at this point they were trying to, quote unquote, assassinate his character. Mm-hmm. And honestly, if you are someone who ends up being accused of this and found to be guilty of it, it pretty much is character assassination. Because no matter what you say, no matter how many sorries you throw out, it doesn't fix the fact that you said that and there's record of it. But there's no record here.
Right, and Myles Garrett even said in a quote near the end that he doesn't want to make this a race thing, but you have literally just done that.
You literally did that, bro.
Like I get it. If you want to, it's one thing. It's not his fault that ESPN and Mina Kimes was the one that did the interview, and obviously, if you're her, you have to take this interview. This is a big story.
Absolutely, and
so,
we know how ESPN is about these things these days.
I think the fault should be blamed on ESPN for doing this interview. They're pushing this. They're pushing this story. I know they're trying to get more information out, but why didn't they do a subsequent interview with Mason Rudolph to kind of balance this out?
Yeah, at least get both sides of the story, because we always know that there's always two sides to every story.
Absolutely, there's actually three.
Well,
your side, my side, and the truth.
That is very true. So it's going to be interesting to see how a lot of this plays out. Obviously, this is not something that's going to be dealt with right away.
Right.
Realistically, this will probably carry on for some time, especially if there is real legal action taken, because we know how slow the courts can go.
Absolutely, yeah.
So definitely make sure that you stay tuned with all things Final Score, because we'll definitely make sure to update you on the situation as it develops more. So at PCN Final Score, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. But right now, we got to move from one crap show to another.
Yeah, another crap show.
Oh my gosh, it gets crazier and crazier, and that is the Houston Astros cheating scandal saga extraordinaire. But let's add another ripple to it. How about that horrific press conference they had?
That press conference was so bad. I watched parts of it and then watched bits and pieces on throughout social media. But it was really hilarious that not only did they have, I believe it was their owner was up there and was saying things. He said in the same press conference.
Yeah, Jim Crane.
Jim Crane, that's who it is. Thank you. Mm-hmm. He goes, it really didn't have an impact on the game. Or no, he said it did have an impact on the game first in his statement.
Yes.
And then a reporter asked him, okay, when you said this statement about it impacting the game, what do you mean? And he goes, I didn't say it impacted the game. It didn't impact the game, and then kind of went off on a little tangent there. Like, that was just, oh man, it's just
no remorse.
There absolutely none.
Absolutely none. Like, and I think that's a showing of how bad this situation is getting. Is that you cheated, you were found to have cheated, and now you just don't care, because at this point they barely slapped you on the wrist, and you still get to keep your World Series title, and all these players are going to still keep playing, get paid, have their endorsements, all that kind of stuff, while all you had to do was get rid of your GM, get rid of your manager, and just pony up $5 million. And of course, just 4 draft picks. But, I mean, with how farm systems are these days, it's not really too hard to reload in that respect either. So what really did the Astros get hit with?
My favorite, one of my other favorite things was Alex Bregman was up there, and then he spoke for a few minutes. Altuve got up there, spoke for like a couple minutes, like ran off the podium.
Oh, he was out of there and on a plane probably before the press conference was over.
Bregman was up there and absolutely admitted that they did it and that they're very sorry. Like they went up there, and when you have like an apology up there, I mean, you're talking about MVP in 2017 was taken away from Aaron Judge and was given to who was that? Altuve got it. Altuve got it. And you're talking about the MVP was stolen from Aaron Judge by Altuve. Then you're talking about they got the World Series ring, like the Dodgers could have, should have won it maybe. You're talking about that, but no. The problem is that I said this before, and I will say it again. Major League Baseball is handling this the poorest I've ever seen a league handle a major issue.
Yeah, it's been absolutely atrocious to watch this entire thing unfold. And MLB Commissioner Rob Manfred even came out and said he wasn't satisfied with Jim Crane and the Astros' completely failed apology. And he didn't even say it was bad. He didn't say it sucked. He said it was completely failed. Because that is what this is. Then
do something about it. Yeah, you are the commissioner of the league.
Exactly.
But he won't.
Which is sad, because they're too afraid of these owners who have all this money and all these things. Why make too much of a thing of, we got to move on. We got to move on. No.
You know why?
Make something happen.
Baseball is the one sport. Baseball's the one sport that cannot pull itself out of the past. They hold on to everything, but they're not gonna vacate titles because it's really never been done. I think it was done once by the Black Sox.
Yeah, but that was during that
they were
entire saga over 100 years ago.
Right, but I mean, you're talking about they've never really pulled titles. They've never really, done.
And you've never
any
really
of
seen
that kind
that
of
done in
stuff.
professional sports. You've seen it happen in college athletics all day.
Absolutely.
It's a little bit easier, but you've never, ever seen that happen in professional sports.
Yeah, but it's not going to take away the fact that they won it. It's not going to take away the fact that what you got to do is you've got to get rid of everything that is entitled or intertwined with that 2017 season. You gotta have them give the rings back. You gotta have them vacate the title. You gotta have all the players, and I already mentioned this before. I've said it for the last couple weeks. You have to ban the immediate players for life that were involved in this situation. Every player that was involved on that staff gets suspended, heavily fined. I'm talking suspended at least 1 year. Minimum 1 year. Anybody that was involved. Here's the funny thing. This is one thing I don't think we mentioned in the last couple of weeks. Mm-hmm. Is that the people that actually were involved in this, in working in like the film department,
right?
They all get to keep their jobs.
All of them.
Everyone got to keep their jobs. Only 2 people got fired.
And that was the general manager and your manager, and that was it.
That's it.
Which is sad given how many people were involved in this entire scandal. So it really blows my mind to see how little was done about this. A lot of the owners are absolutely crying foul right now. Obviously, you're probably not hearing much from Boston, but still, either way, though, it's crazy to see how a lot of this is unfolded.
Boston's being smart because they're keeping their mouth shut because
best thing they could do.
The best thing they can do is raise that because when they won their World Series, who was at the helm for that?
Alex Cora. Anyways.
Yeah, anyway. So they're being smart by keeping their mouth shut for right now. But if it is come out, in fact, that Alex Cora was involved in the 18s, it was the 18 season, right?
Yes.
If he was involved with that too.
And we already know he was in 17.
Yeah, how do you not ban this dude? How do you not ban people for life? How is Pete Rose the only one banned for life?
You know, it's funny. The only person that's going to benefit from all this? Pete Rose. Because Pete Rose now is going to find a way to get into the Hall because of all this.
Right. I mentioned that last week,
yes.
That he is, got a petition out there to try to get back in the Hall of Fame. And if Manfred is smart, he would lift the ban on him, but he probably won't because
he's too scared.
What's the word? Yeah, there's a word for that. Oh, yeah. He's a pussy. That's right. I said it.
Where's my bleep button? Dang it, we don't have that ready this week.
He won't do anything about it because he'll just sit on his hands and go, well, I really can't do anything about this. The owners aren't going to let me, or so and so's not going to let me.
You're the commissioner of baseball.
I love the fact that we have opposite ends of the spectrum for commissioners. Goodell is like way over here and overdoes it.
Yeah,
and then Manfred is like the weakest of the weakest.
Yeah, it's absolutely insane.
Between him and Gary Bettman, I don't know who's weaker.
Gosh.
Between Manfred and Gary Bettman, they're way over here, and then you've got Goodell way over here, and then you've got Adam Silver, who's actually the only good commissioner in the league.
And you know what?
Any league.
He's doing an amazing job. Hats off to Adam Silver and everything you've done with the NBA, your community outreach, everything you've done. It's been great. You guys don't have crazy controversies like this.
I'm really interested to see if they find out cheating by the Astros in 18 and 19 because there's rumors that has been stretched out more. Obviously, there's no way if they did it 1 year and we got a World Series, of course they're going to keep trying it.
I mean, if the shoe fits and it works. Why not? But you know what? You ready for some more controversy?
Let's hear it. One
more round. UFC 247. There was a lot of controversy in the actual decision of the Reyes-Jones fight, and it came down crazy. It was a really great fight, back and forth, but a lot of people thought Reyes actually won that fight, but it came down not only to a decision, but a unanimous decision for a title retention. So how do you feel about this?
Not even a split decision.
Yeah, not even split.
So I'm a casual UFC fan. I'm not going to claim to know a lot about mixed martial arts or anything like that, but I have been listening to podcasts. Actually, there's one that one of the guys, I can't remember the name of the podcast right now, but it's one guy who's actually himself a mixed martial arts judge.
Yes.
And he's been a referee and a judge for quite a while, but like, he's even there and like, this was bad. But I can't claim no, but from what I've seen, what I've heard, Reyes should have won this fight. Reyes absolutely should have won this fight, but they're going to let Jon Jones continue this ride that he's on because they need They need a star. UFC really has a hard time of creating stars. Outside of Conor McGregor and John Jones, name a fighter. Any fighter.
Chuck Liddell.
That's present, the current.
Oh, current.
Exactly. There's not a lot of household names in UFC. I mean, on the women's side, you got Holly Holm. Cyborg doesn't fight there anymore.
There was Brock Lesnar.
Of course, you'd know Brock Lesnar.
That's right.
But you don't have a whole lot of household names. So like John Jones is that guy. Like he's that guy for them. And of course, they're gonna kind of let it slide. But it has since come out, the Texas Department of License and Regulation. That's kind of their committee right now, their sports committee.
I wonder if you're looking at the same thing I am.
And I might be. I might be. But they have kind of come out and like kind of talked a little bit about it. If you're the UFC, though, unless something's done by the state of Texas in their regulation committee, you can't have another fight in Texas anymore until that gets fixed.
And that's the thing, is that these are state by state run when you have these types of fights. So that's something to keep in mind. We even had earlier this year the controversy with Greg Hardy when he was fighting in Massachusetts and ended up using an inhaler during a fight. Things like that have been happening, that a lot of these judges have been coming under extreme scrutiny for allowing things like this to happen, improperly scored fights, having things like an inhaler pop up in the middle of a fight. Because if you saw Joe Rogan lost his mind about this.
He should have.
Yeah, and he said flat out, quote, that they were literally not watching the fight.
Yeah, they've since the Texas committee has since come out and said that some of the judges were watching monitors that were on the table or down near the floor, because you had a couple of judges that, I kid you not, were like this during the fight. They were just staring down.
Yeah, and with the commission, what they came out and said, they had their spokesperson, Telemange, come out and tell a lot of different news outlets that, quote, as in all athletic events, athletes, teams, judges, fans, and media representatives can and often do have differing opinions about what happens in a combative sports match. The commission applauds the passion everyone is exhibiting about this sport, and comments have been made about the selection of the judges and the referees. And in selecting ringside officials, the commission takes into consideration recommendations made by the UFC. As with all events, the commission works very closely with UFC and other promoters to ensure quality and experience of referees and judges to protect the health and safety of the fighters. That's a very bland statement to make.
Yeah, absolutely. They're just trying to flesh it out so that way it just kind of goes away.
It's just so crazy to me, though, that you can have these fights happen. I feel like it was pretty clear. I have to agree with you. I think Reyes won this fight. I think it's still a split decision, but I think Reyes won this fight. And it's crazy that you have not only Jones win, but by unanimous decision. Now, the scores were close. I think the furthest scoring there was 49-46 in favor of Jones. But to say Jones won every round of this, I think is just completely false. There's no way.
And it's one of those judges that there's 3 questionable fights in here, but the John Jones one is the biggest.
Yes.
There's 3 separate fights in which this one referee had what most people think was incorrectly judged the fight in like heavy bias favor, where he had a lot of fights that were the 49-47 or things like that, where it just clearly was not the case.
Right.
I watched a little bit of some of these fights, but not a whole lot, because I didn't really get the pay-per-view or anything like that. But I watched some of it, and it was really, really interesting to see all the backlash that's come out of this.
Yeah.
And Rogan and company are trying to push for now reform and of selection of judges, credentialing of judges, and all those things. Because if in this kind of a sport, you are putting the 3 judges in, their whole goal is they're not supposed to watch video monitors below the floor or on the floor or whatever their excuses they're coming up with. They're supposed to watch with their own 2 eyes and judge, who do you think is more dominant? There's one, I think the judging scorecard was they go based off damage, domination, and duration.
And also amount of strikes landed as much as possible.
Right, and that's part of the damage and things like that. They have strikes landed. They have critical strikes, I think, landed, things like that.
Takedowns.
Takedowns are kind of weighed, but not really.
Yeah.
But
all of it is still, part of that factor of being able to dominate. And it's supposed to all come into this cohesive style of formula that comes together for them to be able to base who is able to actually win these fights, if they're not decided obviously by a technical knockout or a knockout. So it's definitely going to be interesting to see how this story will unfold going forward. UFC has not had an official response yet.
I'll be real interested to hear what Dana White's got to say.
Yeah, and I'm sure Dana White will have something to say about this. So definitely make sure that you check back here with Final Score at PCN Final Score on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and of course on a myriad of content platforms, because we definitely will have more about this because this could shape a lot of things going forward.
Yeah, and John Jones in that fight, it was one of those fights that you watch it and you're like, this is it. This is when John Jones finally loses.
Yes.
But the best thing to do, give Reyes a rematch. Give him a fair rematch in a place where they have honorable judging.
Yes.
Put it in Vegas for all I care. That's where,
that's where the majority of these fights take place.
That's where a lot of them, because they have the best. They have the best credentialing system. They have the best judges generally are in the sports world out there.
Yep.
Give Reyes a rematch. And I think that's the only fair way to go about this. But the question is now going to be, when John Jones fights next, whomever that's going to be, will that be the person to finally dethrone John Jones from his title?
And we're going to ask that question until it happens, but it's going to be interesting because I feel like now things are really going to start stacking against John Jones. So we'll see how a lot of that plays out. But at this time, we had a little bit of a fan vote on our social media for our fifth topic this week, trying to bring you guys more into what we do. And if you did go on to any of our social media accounts, whether it be Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and voted, we thank you so much for taking the time to actually vote on this. And yeah, we did have a clear winner, though.
Yeah, we want to try to make this a weekly thing because
I like it.
Yeah, it brings a little bit of fun for us because we don't know which of the two topics are going to be picked. And
nerve-wracking.
Yeah, and it's one of those things that, like you said, that we want to bring it as much of an interactive process as possible.
Absolutely.
Because that's half the fun of doing these small podcasts is we can just, of the people that do consistently watch us, we want to hear your opinion. We want to hear your voice. And I think this is the best way. I want to see how this worked.
You want to see who won?
Who won? I know it was kind of close, wasn't it?
It was kind of close. So our voting came down to two things. Came down to hot streaks. That's how we wanted to start this. Started with hot streaks. And that was Zion Williams and his 8 20-point plus games over 10 games, all the craziness he's been doing, putting him on pace with Hall of Famers, and the Tampa Bay Lightning and their amazing hot streak that they're on, showing flashes of what they were able to do last season. Hopefully it'll carry in the playoffs, and we'll kind of see what can happen. But we had a winner, and that was none other than the Tampa Bay Lightning's hot streak. So we're going to hop right into that joker right now.
And the Tampa Bay Lightning actually won today. They beat your Flyers. They beat your Flyers at home for their.
All right, now we're gonna change it back to Zion.
But they won for their team record 11th straight home win. They won 5-3 today on Saturday, and what they've been doing now is they're now in the conversation with two other teams that have multiple winning streaks of 10 or more games in the same season. The 1929-30 Boston Bruins and the 1970-71 Boston Bruins. So Tampa Bay, they're
chasing the Boston Bruins right now.
Yeah, and they had goals by Killorn, Kucherov, Point, Paquette, and Vergani.
Damn it, Flyers.
So they all scored for Tampa Bay. They won their 11th game in a row at home. It's also their 10th consecutive win overall to become the third team in NHL history to have two separate 10-game win streaks in the same season.
What the hell, Flyers? Killing me.
Yeah, Vasilevsky played really well, too. He stopped 30 shots, and he's now 19-0-2 in his last 21 starts.
You want to put some perspective on
that?
That
is hot.
The Tampa Bay Lightning might be second in points behind the Boston Bruins, currently with 83. Boston has 84. But the Tampa Bay Lightning lead the league in wins with 39 and have been able to get it done. 10-game winning streak, score differential of plus 55, which is best in all of hockey, even better than the Boston Bruins. So it's absolutely amazing to see what they've done. They've scored 211 goals on the season, best in the league and have been able to just get the job done. They already have hit 20 wins at home. They're 27-2, playing absolutely out of their minds. It's great to see what the Tampa Bay Lightning are doing right now.
I love it, and we know how much they struggled so mightily early in the season,
yes, they
and they are literally like night and day. I think it was like a sleeping giant. They just needed to get that wake up call, and they finally got it, and they are on such a tear right now.
And this is their second 10-game win streak. They had it just before this, because before this they had like a little period where they lost 3 games, won 2 games, kind of whatever, and then hit another 10-game win streak. Like, the Lightning are on point. You got to think that's 20 wins right there. You take those 20 wins away, this is a 500 team. So it's absolutely amazing to see what the Lightning have been able to do to recapture that offensive magic, some of that defensive magic even that they had too, because they've had a lot of teams recently only to like a goal recently. So it's been great to see what they've been able to do offensively, defensively, just getting the job done.
Kucherov's been crushing it lately too. He's got
Absolutely.
70 points on the season. He's got a plus minus of 27, and he's got 27 goals, which leads the team, and he's got 43 assists, which by far leads the team. Next closest is 38, and that's Victor Hedman.
Yeah, absolutely killing it, taking the entire team on his back and making it happen. And it's great to see what the Tampa Bay Lightning are doing. Now let's just see if they can translate this into the playoffs.
And they got a tough stretch coming up. They got a 3-game road trip at Colorado, at Vegas, and at Arizona. All 3 pretty good teams this year. And they're definitely going to have a little bit of a tough time to keep that hot streak running. But after that, it gets easier. They got Toronto, Chicago, Calgary, then they play Boston. So they have a pretty favorable schedule leading into the last month or so of the season.
Until the Flyers March 12th. Yes, get the rematch.
Well, they played my
Red
Red Wings 3 times over the next month and a half, so that's 3 wins right there.
I was about to say, do we need to talk about Detroit and their negative 102 score differential, which is worse?
You know what? Let's just gloss over that. But I guarantee you, I will be at the Saturday, March 14th game, Tampa at home against Detroit.
Are you going to go
at 4 o'clock
in Tampa gear or Detroit gear?
Hell no, I'm going in my Zetterberg jersey. I'm going to do what I did last year. I'm going to sit there.
Cry on the way home as your team loses again?
Maybe.
It's okay.
And Stevie, we trust.
Real men cry. It's okay.
Once in a while, you just got to.
You got to.
You got to let it out.
It's got to let it loose.
You gotta let it go. But the Tampa Bay Lightning are in such a hot streak. Like that, we've really kind of hoped that would be. This team would have shown up early in the year. Can you imagine if this team right now would have shown up at the beginning of the year when they were struggling?
They'd probably be having one of the most dominant seasons in hockey again.
They would by far and above. They got 83 points right now, which is second in the Eastern Conference.
Yep, just behind Boston.
They probably would have almost 90, if not more points.
Which
90 or more points.
Unprecedented, honestly, at this point in the season.
But I would trade this season right here. From last season to this season, I would rather take struggle early, get hot, and then roll that into the playoffs versus how hot they were last year and then just completely flop in the first round.
Yeah, it was really bad. I predicted that sweep just in the wrong direction.
Just in the wrong direction.
So, we'll definitely see how a lot of this plays out. Tampa still has a smorgasbord of games they have to get through before they get to their finale Saturday, April 4th against your Detroit Red Wings on the road. So it's definitely going to be interesting to see how a lot of this will play out. So definitely make sure that you stay tuned. And definitely got to check more on our social media at PCN Final Score on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, because now we're going to start throwing up topics for vote every week because this is pretty fun. I like this. I ain't gonna lie.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. Like we're trying to do a little bit of research on both sides and waiting to see what the fan poll was going to come out to. But yeah, it should be fun. So if you have any topics that you want to throw out to us to put up for the poll, let us know at PCN Final Score, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. You can also email us, pcnfinalscore@gmail.com.
Yes.
And let us know. We want to get some input from our audience and try to make some fun with it. So.
Oh yeah, always trying to have a little bit of fun. But you know what else is fun? History.
History is a lot of fun.
It is a lot of fun.
I love it.
And that's why we're going to now go to This Week in Sports History and take a look back at some of the greatest sporting moments, including our very first one right off rip. which was February 15th, 2004. Very memorable year. The 46th running of the Daytona 500 saw Dale Earnhardt Jr. win the Daytona 500, his very first Daytona 500 win, which was exactly 6 years to the day after the passing of his father, Dale Earnhardt Sr., who also tragically passed away in the Daytona 500 in 2001. But let's also look at the fact that this was also 6 years. I'm sorry. I totally blew that one. It was 3 years since his father had passed. 6 years, though, since his father had won his only Daytona 500 back in 1998. And, man, what an emotional win that was.
Absolutely. And, the Daytona 500, actually, we picked that up because that's this weekend.
Yeah, it's happening tomorrow.
Which is, not tomorrow. And that's not too far. About a half hour from us, actually. Yeah. And Daytona is popping this weekend.
Oh, yes. And I'm going to tell you right now, you better steer clear if you don't plan on being at the race, because I can tell you right now, I've been to races, and sometimes it takes 4 hours to get out of the city of Daytona after a race.
Yeah, it's absolutely insane around Daytona 500 weekend. But moving on, the same day in 2009, February 15th, 2009, the 58th NBA All-Star Game was at the U.S. Airways Center in Phoenix, Arizona. The West beat the East by a whopping 146-119. And we had dual MVPs, both from the LA Lakers, Kobe Bryant and Shaquille O'Neal. And of course, Kobe Bryant, the reason we throw this in there, NBA has decided they're going to rename the All-Star MVP trophy to the Kobe Bryant All-Star MVP.
Yeah, it's going to be awesome and a really great honor for them to do that for him. But February 16th, 1972, Wilt Chamberlain of the LA Lakers becomes the first player in NBA history to reach the career 30,000-point mark during a 110-109 loss to the Phoenix Suns.
How do you ever lose if you had Wilt Chamberlain on your team in his prime?
I mean, he has to be human.
How do you ever lose? Like, the man scored 100 points in a game before.
I mean, he can't score 100 every game.
He was
Mamba had over 80.
That's true. He was one of the most dominant players of his era, far and above more talented and just taller than everybody else.
Yeah, he really was.
But how do you ever lose with Wilt Chamberlain on your team? That's crazy. Sense. But our last one, February 17th, 1989, Orel Hershiser, LA Dodgers pitcher, signs a then record $7.9 million contract. Oh, and that's over 3 years.
I mean, baseball players now just sprinkle that across their breakfast.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, you got contracts that are $200 million, $300 million. I mean, this
absolutely astronomical.
This was only 1989. 31 years ago.
Damn, I'm old.
We're getting old, man.
Oh my gosh.
We're getting up there.
I feel it in my
back.
That
give you an idea of what the contracts were like. $7.9 million 3-year deal in 1989 was a huge deal. And now you've got $300 million contracts.
Yeah, where you're getting paid $20-30 million a year like it ain't nothing. But that is the end of sports history. Now we're going to move on to the good old give or go.
First one, I'm going to toss it up to you, Chris. I know you were really hot about this topic.
Love it.
Masai Ujiri assault charge now. That's all I got for it. Give or go.
All right, we're definitely.
I know you got all the info.
We're going to give because Masai Ujiri is now stuck in a lawsuit against a police officer who tried to stop him from actually coming onto the court during the Toronto Raptors' big win over the Golden State Warriors that cemented the series and won them the NBA championship. Now, originally it was thought that Masai Ujiri had pushed the officer into the shoulder and his chest before both were at a standoff, and then multiple people jumping in the middle, and then players pulling Masai onto the court. Obviously, there was an investigation that came afterwards by the the police department, which found no evidence of any kind of wrongdoing on either side, and ended up dropping it from that point. There was going to be legal action pursued by the police officer, who decided not to. Until now, because now he wants to try and sue him not only for punitive damages, he's also going to sue the NBA, the Toronto Raptors, and the ownership group for the Toronto Raptors, trying to say that he no longer has the ability to fully work his job, that he comes under a lot of personal scrutiny for his actions against Masai, and now also has permanent physical disabilities because of this, and is seeking all types of damages for the NBA and the Toronto Raptors not creating a very secure and safe environment for him to work in. I'm sorry, you're a police officer. That's your job, not everybody else's. First off. Second off, Masai Ujiri has every right to go wherever he wants to when his team is playing in the NBA Finals. It is your fault for not knowing who that is, because I feel like if you're part of any type of security detail, and as a former licensed security officer myself, you need to make sure that you know every big wig that's going to be running through so you're not getting in their way, because guess what that's going to cost you? Your job. And you know what you're going to make out of this? A big fat zero, because you have no issue up until now. Far removed from this situation. This happened back in June of 2019. We are now sitting in February of 2020. Do not tell me that you've been having these issues all this time and just now you're starting to get a legal action going. You are a joke, sir. Please move on. So, Jameis Winston just got LASIK eye surgery this week. Give her a go.
I mean, this is really funny because Jameis Winston founded the 30-30 Club. And, of course, if you're not familiar with that, he threw 30 touchdowns and 30 interceptions last year for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So his gift to himself, he got LASIK eye surgery.
Did he get 30-30 vision?
Oh, my God.
Please tell me you got 30-30 vision.
Don't quit your day job. But I would imagine so. But it's funny that this happened. That, like, he's still going to... Okay, I got a prediction.
Here we go.
He's not going to throw 30 picks this year.
It's going to be 32.
Nope. He's going to still be in the 2020 club. He's
saying he's going to throw 2020 and 2020?
Yep.
Oh, my goodness.
It's the year of the 20s. He's going to throw 20-plus touchdowns, probably about 25 touchdowns and, like, 24 interceptions.
You know, the only way this could get worse if we started just having a dad joke segment on here.
We could.
Oh, my God.
It would be great. It would be great. Let us know. Hey, let us know if you want a dad joke segment, because that would be hilarious. It would be cool if we could make it sports related.
I have so many. I have 4 kids. It's so easy to come up with dad jokes.
But I'm gonna go. It's not really a big deal. He's still a terrible quarterback. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers still are gonna go get Phillip Rivers, so they're in a better position next year. I'm gonna go on it. So the next one is still staying in the NFL. This one's for you, Chris. The Cincinnati Bengals are planning to work out a trade with QB Andy Dalton to move on. Give her a go.
Well, I think it's a class move, though, by Cincinnati to try and work with a quarterback that they definitely have invested time into to try and find a way to move him into a situation that is most favorable for Andy Dalton. However, I do not know a team that really wants Andy Dalton. So it's going to be very interesting to see, honestly, where he ends up landing. Unless you see a team actually go and just want to take a chance for a year, maybe doesn't have a lot of good options, or just is maybe just far enough down the draft list to be able to get one of the good quarterbacks, that they might take that type of chance. But otherwise, man, is it time for Andy Dalton to become a backup?
I don't think he's talented enough that I think he can start somewhere. The question, like you said, is where will he start?
Miami Dolphins.
No,
wait, they'll have Tua.
They got Tua. Oh, I got it. When the Lions trade Stafford to the Chargers, they'll take Andy Dalton. And then there'll be another 3-win team, and I will be so happy to kick Patricia out the door. I've already talked about this. Bad? Yeah, Patricia should get off them.
As should you, to think that Matt Stafford would actually be traded away. The thing is with Matt Stafford, the ownership's already come out and said they're flat out not going to trade him.
Usually when that happens,
damn it, they get traded. You're onto something here, sir.
I have a hunch sometimes, but I've already said that I haven't said this out loud like to other people.
Heard it here first, fans.
If the Lions trade Stafford in a must-win year, I will seriously consider stop rooting for them.
You'll join the Eagles?
I will be my fandom. My fandom would be open at that point.
Would you be taking applications?
I would be taking applications. So
I got you, Eagles.
If the Lions trade Stafford this offseason, draft Tua or a quarterback that's not Joe Burrow, because it's not going to happen.
Oh, jeez.
And then Patricia then goes on and starts having another losing season. I'm done. I'm done with them. Finally done with them. I even stuck with them in the 0-16 year.
We have these beautiful Wentz jerseys.
And I'm done.
Beautiful Wentz jerseys. They fit nice. They're the caliber of champions.
That probably fits me better than you, actually.
More than likely.
But anyway, last one.
Oh my gosh. You're killing me. The WNBA, Skylar Diggins-Smith was traded from Dallas to Phoenix. Give or go.
I want to give on this because this is big for the WNBA. I mean,
Huge.
WNBA doesn't get a lot of recognition and all that, but this is big because the trade was the number 5 and number 7 picks in the 2020 WNBA draft, along with a future first rounder from Phoenix to give to Dallas. In return, they got Skylar Diggins-Smith. And to kind of look at that, now Phoenix has basically 2 players from that loaded 2013 draft.
Oh, loaded.
They got Brittany Griner, and they've got Skylar Diggins-Smith. And to add that in, they got Diana Taurasi, who's she's the Iron Woman of the WNBA. I think like she is just, her longevity has been crazy good.
Yes.
But this team now, the Mercury, now they're stacked. But the question's going to be, are they deep enough of a bench to be able to win? But I mean, just kind of reading into some of the stuff here, this team is by far and above the team to beat in the WNBA this coming year.
Absolutely, and it's going to be amazing to see what they're able to pull off because I think we're going to see some records set by this team.
I know one of the friends of the show, Jay Stevens, we were chatting back and forth on Twitter. You can already kind of give the crown to the Mercury at this point for the WNBA because of this big move. I mean, I don't know if this is going to start to see the big 3 type thing in the WNBA where the star players all go join up and create like a super team, which I don't think would help the WNBA because they need that competitive thing.
Actually, I want to try and counterpoint that because I think actually having the super team mentality could actually help the WNBA.
Think so?
Because now you got to think, because if you have a team that's able to be out and go and show that women's basketball really can be dominant and really can show off some type of offensive prowess with some of the best players and known faces of the WNBA, that could be enough to try and start luring people to start watching the WNBA more.
So you think it might be like a Warriors situation where people started watching more because the Warriors were so good?
Yes.
Are they finally going to get dethroned this time?
See that happen.
That's possible. I mean, I wonder if that's the direction that players in the WNBA are going to go. So yeah, I will definitely stay, pay a little bit closer attention to the WNBA this year just to see. I want to see if they're going to go. It's not going to happen. I want to see if they're going to go undefeated.
Ooh.
I want to see a team in the WNBA
That would be crazy.
Get undefeated. I want to see it.
That would be amazing on so many ways. So
I want to see it.
We'll definitely see if that happens. But now it's time to shift gears to the week ahead.
Week ahead, we've just got a couple things here. We talked about the Daytona 500 locally here. It's tomorrow, 2 o'clock. Is going to be
2 p.m. start time, and it's going to be a great lineup. You're looking at some of the people who've been able to qualify for this race. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. currently holds the pole for it after all the duels and everything. He will start on the front row beside the man that replaced Dale Earnhardt Jr. in the 88 Hendrick.
Dale Earnhardt
Jr. in the 88 Hendrick Motorsports machine, piloted now by Alex Bowman. But a lot of great racers are going to be in this race. Joey Logano, William Byron, Eric Almirola, Jimmy Johnson, Ryan Newman, Brad Keselowski, Kevin Harvick, a lot of guys. Austin Dillon, who's now driving the 3 for Richard Childress, Martin Truex Jr., former champion, Kurt Busch, Denny Hamlin. A lot of great drivers are going to be in this race that have legitimate shots at winning it. So it's definitely going to be interesting to see how that race goes.
Absolutely. And, of course, the NBA All-Star Game is this weekend. All-Star Weekend, we're actually live right now, has the updates for three-point contest, the dunk contest, and the skills competition. I'm trying to look for this right now.
Bam Adebayo defeated Domantas Sabonis to win the skills challenge.
2 centers, 2 big guys were winning the skills competition.
Big guys.
That is not who I would have guessed.
Not who I would have guessed either.
So it would have been great. It would have been great had we been able to do this earlier, so we could kind of pick picks for it.
Damn day job.
Yeah, I know, damn day job. But yeah, that's a big surprise there.
Definitely a big surprise, but there's still more to come. We also have the NBA All-Star Game that will be tomorrow. So it's definitely going to be very exciting, especially with the new format. So
8 o'clock tomorrow night, TNT. Team LeBron versus Team Giannis. And I believe Team Giannis is wearing the number 24.
Yes.
And then Team LeBron is all wearing number 2, of course, in honor of both I forget her name, Gigi. What's her real name? Gianna Bryant and Kobe Bryant.
Yes.
Of course. That's going to be pretty cool. And you mentioned the the rule changes.
Yes, they're going to be playing each quarter out and then resetting going into the new quarter. And then once they get to the fourth quarter, everything comes back into play. So it's definitely going to be interesting to see with this new format, how everything's going to shake out. But everything right now is really to be played in honor of Kobe Bryant. So this is going to be much more of a commemorative style game and I think an actual competition.
I'm already going to see it. I'm going to cry watching this.
I will too. Like we said, men can cry. It's okay.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to cry watching that because the weight of what he had as far as Kobe Bryant had, the reach that he had for a lot of things. But I like, as far as the All-Star Weekend is concerned, I actually like this new format of not keeping score through the first three quarters because no one's there to watch West is going to beat the East. Like, nobody cares. Yeah, people wanted to see the Stars. Look at the Rising Stars game. The Rising Stars game was an absurd score, but it's because the second half became a dunk contest. Yeah. That was a lot of fun to watch.
That was really great and entertaining. So if you haven't checked
that out, did you see Zion broke the backboard?
Yeah, he actually bent it.
He bent it. I'm impressed.
Zion Williamson.
I'm impressed.
Just watch. But definitely make sure that you watch Final Score as we go forward because sadly we are at the end of our episode, but we'll have more episodes to come. So definitely make sure you join us next week for episode 48 when we go live again on Facebook Live. All you have to do is go to facebook.com/PCN Final Score. Check out all the great stuff there. But you also need to follow us on all of our social media. What are you doing? Go to Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all of it at PCN Final Score. Give us a like, give us a follow, give us a share. Leave us a rating. Let us know how we're doing. We always want to bring the best show that we can. But also check us out on all of our platforms. YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, TuneIn, Podbean, Stitcher, Google Podcasts. Search Final Score, one word. Check out everything we got. Give us a like. Give us a follow. We're at the end, though, so I can only say so much more.
I said you were on a roll there. I was just going to let you go.
Almost did it in one breath.
But, whatever your favorite platform is, we're probably on it. Just give us a like, share us. And then, give us a rating on those as well. I mean, we want to try to make it better. 5 stars. That'd be great.
5 star.
5 stars would be great.
5 star. Oh, sorry, that's Booker T. Anyways,
Jesus.
Sorry, it's been that kind of day for me. It's been really crazy. I've been up since 5
You are really loopy right now.
I very am. This is just fumes at this point. So we're going to go ahead and jump off here so I can actually catch a nap. But definitely make sure you join us next week. But until then, I'm Chris. That's Craig. And you just watch Final Score. Have a great night.
Dad jokes are a go.
Podcast City Network.